This is Flat Out Agility, an Australian agility podcast. I'm Grace. Today, I am joined by Moira Bruce of Perception Agility. Moira is an agility judge and long-time agility trainer and handler. She's deeply involved in the dog sports community, including organising the 2024 Border Collie Nationals, and she's also part of the organising committee for the 2026 Agility Nationals, which we'll be talking all about. So to start us off, Moira, can you tell us about your experience with agility?
Yeah, so I've been involved in agility for quite a while now, competing, training, and also judging. So I've been judging since 2016 and have judged all around Australia. I've judged at Royals, state titles. I've mainly trained border collies, and I've trained an agility champion, but lately I've gone completely to the other spectrum and I'm training a little chihuahua named Rip. I've got my own training business called Perception Agility. So I kind of see the sport from all angles as a competitor, a judge, and also as a coach as well.
Love to hear you're running in a chihuahua now. That's very cool.
Yeah, he's a bit of a devil.
So you're on the organising committee. Let's start from the basics. What is the Agility Nationals?
So the Agility Nationals are basically the biggest agility event we have in Australia. They're run every second year and they rotate between those main states. So Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and Western Australia. So COVID kind of threw the timing out a bit. Western Australia were meant to host in 2020, but that didn't end up happening, and they didn't do it until about 2023. So everything kind of shifted because of COVID. But yeah, it's where everyone from across the country comes together, represents their state, and they compete. And it's a full week, and it's just a really special event.
Are there any specific rules or formats at Nationals that differ from regular trial weekends?
So the actual rules are the same, but the format is pretty different. You've got multiple heats, finals, there's teams events. It's not just a one and done sort of like a normal trial weekend. There's also a lot of practical differences. So the rings are usually split by height because of the numbers. You have NFC or not for comp in other comps, but this isn't allowed at the nationals, so it keeps things moving. And finals are sort of an invite only based on results. So you can place in finals, but you're not getting qualifying scores like at a normal trial.
And just from your experience, like how many nationals have you been to and what is it like as an entrant?
Yeah, look, it is such a extraordinary event. I've been to a couple. I haven't attended all of them, but I remember doing it with my chocolate border collie in Sydney, and just the logistics, the amount of rings, the amount of people getting there for your runs. Like it's just such a cool experience to do with your friends and your dogs. And yeah, it's something you don't forget once you've been to one.
And what does it actually take to bring the Nationals to your state? Like how does that process work?
So, yeah, it's a really long process. So, Dogs Queensland actually applied to host this over 6 years ago. We were meant to host it in 2024, as I said, but COVID shifted everything. So, basically, the Agility Committee asks the state body to put in the application to Dogs Australia and lock in the dates. And once you get it, it's a really big deal. And honestly, it's probably going to be about another 10 years before Queensland hosts it again.
So being on the working group, how does that first come together? Like what are those early conversations about?
Well, we came together around the second half of 2024. So it started kind of with online meetings, and a lot of the early chats were just around sort of what worked at Sydney and what we wanted to bring to Brisbane, and then definitely what we didn't want to repeat as well. So we kind of jumped on a Zoom with the Sydney sponsorship team in December, and that was super helpful. And then we had our first proper meeting in person in January 2025. There's a group of us that have sort of volunteered to be on this working committee. So yeah, it's quite a big task, and there's only around 14 of us in the working committee. So it's a big job to organise a national.
Yeah, for sure. And what is your role on that committee?
I guess my key roles is prize coordination. So that was a big one. So ordering and organizing a lot of the prizes. Also, I'm in charge of the volunteers, so allocating volunteers. I have formed a volunteer committee. So there's 3 of us that are helping with allocations and all of that. You can imagine, I think there's over 150 volunteers across the event. That'll be everything from scribing to gophers to bar setters. So that's a really big task to make sure we have enough people on each ring. Also, there's so many little things that each of us do as well. So things that I'm doing is also like the allocation of marquees for competitors that are booking marquees. I've done a fair bit of fundraising and gathering raffle prizes. There's just a whole lot of little things that everyone does.
Just on volunteers, how do you like source them? How do you get, I mean, you would, like you're saying, you need lots of volunteers for an event like this. So how does that happen?
Well, we've put call outs for volunteers. So, through all the different state, a lot of it's through social media, calling out for volunteers. We have basically a Google form where they can fill out their availability. We have published in our Dogs Queensland newsletters asking for volunteers. So, we have a lot of volunteers that are in the dog community, but we also have a lot that are coming as well who don't even know anything about agility. So that will then involve, of course, we have to train them. So we're doing training days for volunteers. So it's a really big process.
So how far in advance, like when did you guys start planning? So you found out 6 years ago that you were supposed to do it in 2024. So did a lot of the planning happen back then, or is it really only kicked into gear lately?
Oh, look, not really. I think it sort of started about 2 years ago, but I suppose realistically even earlier than that. So we were already kind of taking mental notes when we were at Sydney in 2024. The subcommittee had been fundraising for years before that. So that head start with the fundraising has made a really big difference as well.
And so how is an event like this funded? Is it all just fundraising?
So it's a mix of fundraising, sponsorship, and of course the entry fees as well. So we were really lucky because, as I mentioned, the subcommittee had already built up funds over a number of years. So then we've added to that with more fundraising and some really great sponsors who've come on board as well. So both financially and also with prize sponsorship.
And what are some of the sponsors that Dogs Queensland is particularly excited about?
Yeah, so super excited. We've got some awesome sponsors. Some of those are Halo Mins, ACEL, Antonol, Siva, Simparica Trio, Loyalty Pet Treats. These guys are probably our main sponsors. And then we've got a whole lot of other sponsors as well.
Like when you say prizes, what are we talking about here? Is this prizes for just like placings, or are there other things happening?
So predominantly placing. So we've got prizes for all placings in all height categories across all heats and finals and games. Some of those we have actually purchased ourselves. So we've got a lot of really cool national branded prizes that we've gone and sourced. And then our sponsors have also donated a heap of things. So, for example, Antonol will be sponsoring with a whole lot of Antonol for the prizes. So I think for some first, second, and third placings, we've got, for example, Loyalty Pet Treats as well, sponsoring with treats for prizes and lots of different prize packs and things from other sponsors as well.
When you quantify it like that, you've got 5 heights and then you've got placings in every like heat. So that it adds up.
Yeah, absolutely does. I think there was over I think it was something like 600 prizes for the heats and then another 300 for the final, something like that. So there's a lot of prizes. And the other thing is exhibitor bags. So we give every person that enters gets a exhibitor bag. So we've got a really cool bag that we've sourced full of really great things that are going to complement the nationals and some Paraca Trio and things like that, and some dog treats in there as well.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know about that. So like if you just enter and attend, you get like almost like a show bag, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, correct. Yes. So making those up is also a challenge. We need volunteers to help us pack those bags. And I think we've made 650 of those. And we'll be supplying those to not only exhibitors but volunteers as well.
So, how is your working group approaching this nationals sort of differently to previous nationals? So, you mentioned that you went to Sydney, and obviously, you guys, different people on the committee, would have been to different nationals over past years as well. So, what's different that you guys are doing?
Well, I think for us, it's just really about making it memorable. So there's a really big focus on safety, especially with how course design has evolved, but also on the overall experience. So we're trying to do things like live streaming, really build the atmosphere and make it really enjoyable for competitors and also spectators. So we just want it to feel like something really special.
So, what are some of the biggest challenges of doing that, of hosting the nationals?
Honestly, it's just the logistics. So the scale is huge. We're running 7 rings. We're going to have hundreds of competitors over multiple days. So trying to coordinate volunteers, equipment, schedules, and just making sure everything runs on time. That's a massive job. And then on top of that, you've got sourcing equipment for all 8 rings. So we've got 7 rings and also a practice ring. That's a lot of equipment. Organising over 20 judges. I think we have 22 judges. Obviously, their travel, accommodation. We're coordinating over 150 volunteers. We've got all of those prizes. There's a whole lot behind the scenes that people don't see. And then there's the things that you can't control. So, for example, recently the fuel prices. So that's definitely had an impact this year with travel costs, and that's affected the entry numbers a little bit. And that, of course, flows on to the overall budget. So we've had to make some decisions to extend early bird pricing. We're trying to keep it as affordable as we possibly can for competitors. And then, of course, that budgeting side of things, we've got to be really conscious of costs. So getting millions of quotes for everything, making sure we're sticking to a budget, but we still are trying to deliver that real high quality event. So the balance is probably a lot harder than people realize.
And for sourcing equipment for that many rings, like how do you do that?
So we've approached a lot of clubs in the areas. We've got different people transporting from different clubs. So it's been a big process. And then, of course, we have to manage that as well at the event so we don't mix up any equipment and all of that as well. So that's a big job in itself.
Yeah, I can imagine that. You kind of don't think about all of those things when you're just an entrant. You're like 7 rings, but then you wait a minute. That means, maybe 4 of those are agility. So maybe you need like 4 or 5 different dog walks.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned judges. So how are judges selected for nationals and what is that process?
So there's a lot of discussion early on. The committee all put in suggestions and then basically they get voted on. So we talked about whether we wanted international judges, how many judges we're going to need, what kind of mix we're sort of looking at. In the end, we went with one international judge and some from New Zealand as well, and a great group of Australian judges. And then there was a smaller group within the working committee that worked through all those final decisions. So who's going to judge what? And then obviously they send out the invites, and that's a bit of a process as well.
And how do you select that international judge? Like if it's just the one, how do you sort of narrow that down?
Again, it's just a bit of a voting, strategy from the committee. So it's like, oh, we think this judge would really work with our Australian courses and, all of what we know about them. We have had some international judges over in the past that have stayed perhaps after a seminar and they've stayed to judge and we've seen firsthand their courses. So that helped as well with the nominations for those judges. And then, of course, it went to a vote and this particular judge was voted on.
And how much input does the working group have over the course design, or is that just fully once you've selected the judge, they just make those courses?
So it's mostly the judges. So they design the courses, but they do have to submit them to the committee to be approved. So the international judge, for example, he has to actually submit his to Dogs Australia for pre-approval. So we don't actually design them. The judges do all of that, but there's still that process around it as well.
So at the event, what classes are offered during this nationals?
So it is a full program. So pretty much everything is offered. So we've got 3 heats for every event, basically jumping and agility. Then we have a games round. So that's all of the games. And then we also have a teams event as well. And then, of course, it goes into the finals. So it's a massive week.
Can you tell me more about the team event?
Yeah, so there will be teams from each states that can get a team together, basically. So the team is generally, we have 6 dogs in a team. 5 of those dogs run, and then the best 4 results are submitted. So basically, you have 5 dogs run, best 4 results submitted to choose who the winners are. Normally, the teams are chosen in each state through a sort of nomination or of their best results over a certain period of time, or perhaps some states will do like a competition specifically running to sort of qualify for that team's event. So they all choose them a little bit differently. But yeah, as I said, each state, I think we are actually combining some from Tassie or New Zealand as well to make up the teams.
And so, how did the recent rule changes affect your preparations? Was it a major thing that you guys had to grapple with, or was it really kind of smooth, not that big a deal?
It definitely made things a little bit tricky. So there was a lot of uncertainty around the height changes and how that was going to affect the numbers. So scheduling was definitely a moving target for a while. We had to make some calls without having all the information. And that meant in the end that we had to delay the release of our schedule. We had to make some big decisions around predicting class sizes, particularly with the 400 and 500 classes, so trying to estimate which class is going to be bigger in regards to scheduling and judging and all of that sort of stuff. So it was a big deal. I know those few people that were really working on that lost a bit of hair during that time.
And is it going to affect any of the judges? Like, have you had to refresh everybody on those judging rule changes?
Yeah, definitely. So there's new judges guidelines and things like that coming out. So there's a lot of yeah, minor and major changes that judges need to be aware of. It's also affected equipment as well. So making sure that all the equipment is now to the rule specifications as well for the nationals.
And what are the other activities going on? So there's going to be raffles or merch, or what vendors are going to be there?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of our sponsors will be on site as vendors. So that's really exciting for competitors as well. They can go and have a chat to them about any of the products, and they might have some things for sale or some samples and all of that sort of stuff. So it's important we support them. Some of our amazing sponsors have also donated some super valuable raffle prizes. So one of those is the ACell Pro Series therapy mat, which is valued at almost $6,000. So that is a raffle, which is an exceptional prize to win. And also our other sponsors have also donated some amazing raffle prizes as well, like jumps, for example. We've got prize packs. We've got all sorts of amazing high value prizes as well. So for example, Antonol have donated some large tubs, which are valued at almost $600. So there's some really high value prizes. So hopefully everyone gets in and supports that raffle. And the lucky person who takes home that ACell mat as well is going to be very happy. We have got some really cool national specific merchandise as well. So all of our merch that we have had made specifically for the nationals is all branded nationals. We've got some really cool socks, for example, which have all different breeds doing different things in agility. We've got our ground mats, our gazebo mats, and we've got some reflective mesh walls. And the most exciting thing is our little pod toys as well for all those dogs who are food motivated, and also some really great tug toys, as well as our nationals hats as well. So sport caps. So hopefully everyone supports that. They can take home some really cool memorabilia as well. And as I said, they're all nationals branded. So they're a really cool collectible.
So, what would you say has been sort of unexpectedly difficult being organizing this nationals?
Oh, look, just the volume of decisions. There are so many decisions. And, we are now having fortnightly meetings, plus we have our group chat, which is a constant every single day. So there's so many little details from things, that you don't think of, like ring flow to camping to merchandise, allocating gazebo spots. The prizes are still, sponsors are still coming out with some prizes. So we've got to allocate those. We've got scheduling, and all of that really matters. And, with 14 people, you're not always going to agree. So sometimes working through that can be a bit of a challenge.
But what has been the most rewarding part so far?
Yeah, just definitely seeing it all come together. So, you've got sponsors coming on board, the volunteers are all signing up, and you can actually see the event taking shape. It is really exciting, but it's also really scary. But yeah, the prize shopping has also definitely been a highlight for me.
And what would you say that you're looking the most forward to, like when the event is actually on?
Honestly, just 6 days of really good competition, good sportsmanship, and hopefully everything running nice and smoothly. If the last dog runs in the finals and everything gets packed up, and people have had fun, and us on the organising committee haven't killed each other, then that's definitely going to be a big win.
I can imagine you're all looking forward to a bit of relief.
Definitely, it's been a lot of work over the last few years, so it'll be a big relief when it's over. We'll all be able to breathe again.
But what would you guys say success looks like from your perspective, like this working group? What would really make it, and at the end you'd all go, that we really nailed that.
Yeah, look, just seeing everyone having a really great time with their dogs and also with their friends and fellow competitors. We want to see everyone encouraging each other and happy, smiling faces and people walking away going, wow, we got some amazing prizes. It was really well organized. And I think, that's what stood out in Sydney as well. The atmosphere was really amazing, even with the mud. So I guess we just want everyone to walk away with that same sort of feeling. Hopefully we don't have the mud this time, but yeah, we just want everyone to have a fun, enjoyable time. And, everyone ends up taking the best dog home in the end, don't they?
So what would you say to competitors and spectators? Like, what do you want them to take away from this experience?
But I think it's definitely a privilege to be able to go out there with your best mate and run. It's not just a competition. It's teamwork. It's enjoying that time we get to spend with our best fur kids, and also our friends that are into the same sport that we are, and really enjoying that, embracing that, encouraging that. Yeah, it's really exciting. And also with spectators, for them to be able to see the connection that we have with our dogs, and hopefully, educate people that, there's a lot that we can do with our dogs and keep them stimulated and happy and, loving life. So
Do you have any insider tips for people that are going to the event?
I think don't stress. It is stressful when you're entered in, probably at least 10 events across, a 6-day period. It is a long time. It is tiring. Our dogs fatigue, we fatigue. So I guess the biggest thing is don't stress. The organising committee will do their best to help you throughout the event. Just enjoy it. And if there's any stresses, come and see us and we'll do our best to help you out.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed talking to you about nationals, and I'm very excited to see how the event's going to go.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and chatting about our organising committee. It's great.
This has been Flat Out Agility. Be kind to dogs.